Welcome to the deep dive. Have you ever had an experience with a product or service that was just so outstanding it felt like pure magic?
hmm
Maybe it was a hotel stay where they just seemed to anticipate your every need,
hmm
Or even a simple coffee order that somehow brightened your entire day, left you feeling like genuinely delighted.
Yeah, those aren't just happy accidents, are they?
Not at all.
Those moments, you're right, they're often the deliberate result of a really powerful strategic concept called peak experience.
Geek experience.
Yeah, in Chinese, it's known as Fengzhi Tian. It's championed by Professor Wang Jiqian, who's a leading brand expert, just decades of really profound industry experience. And his work, it fundamentally challenges the traditional view of customer service, of marketing even.
Just so?
Well, it urges us to focus on what truly deeply resonates with people, rather than just, superficial improvements across the board.
Absolutely. And that's precisely our mission today. We're going to take a deep dive into Professor Wang's core ideas, drawing heavily from his influential book, Peak Experience 2, and his most recent interviews.
Go.
We'll explore why not all customer interactions are created equal, right? How to pinpoint those truly impactful moments that shape perception, and crucially, how companies, regardless of their size, can strategically focus their, let's face it, inherently limited resources to craft unforgettable experiences that spark explosive growth.
Like a roadmap.
Exactly. Think of this as your shortcut, really, to understanding the hidden psychology behind why we choose certain brands, why we stick with them even when competitors offer, similar stuff, and why we become their most passionate advocates.
And that's valuable whether you're in business or not.
For sure. Whether you're building a business, developing content, or frankly, just trying to understand human behavior at a deeper level, the insights we're about to unpack could truly reshape how you think about engagement and loyalty.
So let's start by really unpacking peak experience itself. What is it at its core?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Well, Professor Wang's big idea, fundamentally, is that a customer's overall impression of a product or a service, it isn't formed by simply averaging all their interactions with your brand.
Right, it's not like a scorecard where every point counts equally.
Exactly. Instead, that impression is primarily and often, disproportionately shaped by just a few critical highs and sometimes, unfortunately, lows within that entire journey.
Highs and lows, not the middle.
Not the middle. It's not about achieving some kind of consistent, middling standard, say, getting an 80-point score across the board for every single touch point. That widespread consistency, well, it sounds good in theory, doesn't it?
It does. Seems logical.
But it isn't what sticks in the memory.
And I think that's where so many traditional approaches just fall short, right? You see companies pouring vast resources into trying to incrementally improve everything. They're aiming for that uniform high standard across every single interaction.
The overall service improvement idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But as Professor Wang convincingly argues, this strategy is often not just ineffective, but also incredibly resource-intensive and, frankly, notoriously difficult to scale.
You spread yourself too thin.
Totally. You end up spreading your efforts so thin that the customer often doesn't even notice the marginal improvements in the less important parts of their journey. It's like trying to make every single stone in a long path perfectly smooth, when maybe only a few keystones are ever truly noticed or remembered.
That's a critical point, and it ties directly into a really foundational concept from behavioral economics. Daniel Kahneman's Nobel Prize-winning peak end rule.
Ah, Kahneman. Okay.
Yeah. Kahneman illuminated this profound difference between our experiencing self and our remembering self.
Experiencing versus remembering.
Wow.
How do they differ?
Well, our experiencing self lives through every single moment, right? Day by day, interaction by interaction. But our remembering self, it operates very differently. It doesn't aggregate all those moments. Instead, it primarily recalls just two things: the moment of highest or lowest emotional intensity during an experience, the peak and the very end of that experience.
Take in the end, that's it.
That's pretty much what sticks. All the in-between stuff, the average parts, they tend to just fade into the background of our memory.
So if our memories are primarily constructed from these peaks and the conclusion, what's the real strategic value of pouring vast resources into making the mediocre middle just slightly better? It seems like a classic case of misallocated effort.
It often is. This
Yeah.
is precisely why Professor Wang warns against that overall service improvement trap. Resources get wasted on things customers simply won't remember or, frankly, value enough to impact their long-term perception or loyalty.
So what's the goal then? with peak experience?
The ultimate objective of peak experience design becomes creating what Professor Wang metaphorically calls a closed-loop flywheel of customer engagement and loyalty.
A flywheel. I like that image.
And this entire cycle is encapsulated in a really powerful Chinese phrase.
Okay, break that down for us.
Roughly translated, it means see and enter, enter and buy again, and spread widely. It's about designing an ecosystem, you see, where customers are effortlessly drawn in, then converted, then retained, and then, crucially, they become your most potent advocates. That's the flywheel effect.
See, enter, buy again, spread widely. Got it.
And this ambition leads directly to a profoundly practical principle that Professor Wang offers. 310 equals 290.
Okay, an equation. 300 minus 10 equals 290. What does that represent?
Well, this equation starkly acknowledges the universal reality that every company, regardless of its size, operates with finite resources, limited time, limited money, limited human capital. It's just a fact.
Always constraints.
Always. So Professor Wang proposes that out of, say, 300 potential moments of truth, MOTs, and that's every single instance where a customer interacts with or forms an impression of your brand.
Okay, 300 potential touch points.
Yeah, maybe more, maybe less, but let's use 300. Out of those, only a select few, perhaps around 10, truly deserve to be taken to the extreme. These are the moments you should transform into genuine peak experiences.
Only 10. Out of 300, that's radical.
It is. It requires focus.
So for the vast majority of those touch points, the remaining 290, you're not suggesting they be neglected, are you?
Oh, absolutely not. They still need to be done, but they don't need to be perfected. They just need to meet an average or good enough standard.
Okay, not neglected, but not obsessed over.
Exactly. It's a radical shift, as you said, from perfectionism across the board to highly strategic resource allocation. You focus disproportionately on those critical few points that will actually make a difference in memory and perception.
But I can imagine a common pitfall here. Professor Wang refers to it as J, or ineffective work.
Wasted effort.
Right. Many companies, maybe even most, don't even have a clear understanding of what their 300 moments of truth are. They lack genuine customer insight, or maybe a deep grasp of their core business logic.
And that leads to resources being poured into areas that customers simply don't value. It's ineffective work because it doesn't move the needle.
Do you have an example of this ineffective work? That's
Precisely the danger. A vivid illustration comes from a case Professor Wang often shares. A high-end black chocolate, like 98% cacao. Really intense.
Okay, niche product.
Very niche. The company was initially quite proud, considering it one of their best sellers. However, when Professor Wang's team dug deeper, they discovered something fascinating.
What was it?
80% of its loyal, high-frequency buyers were fitness coaches.
Wow, a very specific group.
Exactly. A highly specific, tiny, and crucially unrepresentative segment of the broader market. While these few individuals loved the intensely bitter chocolate, a broader survey revealed that a staggering 95% of the general customer base found it unpleasant and would definitely not repurchase.
Wow. So it wasn't really a bestseller in the usual sense.
Not at all. This highlights a classic danger of survivor bias. You focus only on those who survived the experience and loved it, while completely missing the vast majority who found it a low-value moment, something unpleasant and churned, never to return.
They just disappeared.
Right. This chocolate wasn't a bestseller because it was universally liked. It was a bestseller because a very specific, very small group of people adored it, while almost everyone else basically hated it.
That chocolate example really brings it to life. It's not just about what sells, but who it sells to and why they value it. It underscores why understanding your entire customer base, not just your most enthusiastic fans, is absolutely critical.
You got it.
Now let's zoom in on these moments of truth themselves, these MOTs, because they are like the heart of this entire design philosophy.
They really are the building blocks.
Professor Wang emphasizes that MOTs are far more than just generic customer touchpoints, right? They're specific, pivotal instances that significantly influence a customer's decision-making process at key junctures in their journey.
And he offers a powerful three-element framework for defining an MOT, which makes it incredibly actionable. It's not just vague feelings.
Okay, what are the three elements?
First, there's who. This is a concise but vivid description of the target consumer experiencing this moment. Think of it as painting a mini persona for that specific interaction, like a middle-aged business traveler rushing to catch a flight, or A young mom with a baby who gets frequent allergies and is desperately searching for relief. Specific.
Okay, the who. What's next?
The second element is in what situation. This needs to be a precise, short, and detailed description of the moment itself. It includes the location, specific sensory input, what are they seeing, hearing, maybe smelling or touching, and their actions within that moment. It's about capturing the full context.
So for the business traveler example.
It might be standing in a long security line at the airport, constantly checking their watch, feeling that rising stress. You feel the situation.
Yeah, I can picture that. And the third element.
And the third, and arguably most critical element, is feeling what? This captures the crucial emotional or cognitive impact the consumer experiences at that precise moment. This feeling, this is what effectively becomes the mental tag, or the specific brand message you want associated with your brand at that juncture.
The mental tag. I like that.
So for that stressed business traveler, if you can somehow make them feel calm efficiency or maybe unexpected relief right there in that security line, that's an incredibly powerful MOT.
That feeling becomes linked to your brand.
Exactly. And this granular approach, this focus on who, situation, feeling, it profoundly differentiates MOTs from traditional customer journey mapping, which often just tracks linear steps.
Yeah.
MOT focuses intently on these decision points, aiming to influence the customer's mindset and behavior in a highly targeted way, not just their physical movement through a process.
Okay, so if the goal is to pinpoint these critical moments, how do you actually find them? Where do these insights come from?
Well, Professor Wang asserts that to truly uncover these impactful MOTs, you need to deeply understand three distinct yet equally important groups of people.
Three groups. Who are they?
The first group is those who love you. These are your most loyal, high-frequency, high-value customers, your VIPs, your super users. Think of an airline's top-tier platinum members, right?
Their core base.
Exactly. They represent your stock or existing base, and they reveal your beauty. Their opinions are invaluable because they consistently choose you, they advocate for you, they can articulate why they love you, which helps you amplify your existing strengths.
Okay, makes sense. Who's the second group?
Then you have those who don't love you. This group includes your competitors' loyal customers, or maybe individuals who know about your brand but consistently choose not to buy from you.
The ones you haven't won over yet.
Right. They represent potential growth for your business, and their insights are crucial for revealing your blind spots, understanding why you're not connecting with them, and crucially, dissecting your competitors' strengths. Why are they choosing the other guy? You need to know that.
That takes some humility to seek out, I bet.
It does. And finally, the third group. Those who used to love you.
Oh, the ones who left.
Yes. Former customers who, for whatever reason, stopped buying your product or using your service, their experiences are absolute gold mines.
Why gold mines? Seems painful.
Because they reveal the low-value moments that led to churn. Identifying these negative turning points, these points of friction or disappointment, is absolutely vital for improving your repurchase rates and, frankly, stopping the bleed. You have to understand why people leave.
Love you, don't love you, used to love you. Got it. It sounds like a really structured way to combat what Professor Wang calls self-indulgent thinking.
Designing in a vacuum.
Right. That pitfall of designing experiences purely from an internal perspective, assuming, well, I would like this, so the customer must too. It's such a dangerous trap, often leading to products and services that truly only appeal to the designers themselves, rather than addressing actual customer needs or desires.
Precisely. And it happens all the time. To avoid that, Professor Wang outlines practical approaches for actively finding these MOTs. Method 1 is to derive them directly from brand message.
How does that work?
This involves asking customers how they actually describe your brand, what words they use, and then, here's the crucial part, you dig deeper. You ask why they use those specific words. That why often unearths the underlying MOT that truly shaped their perception.
Can you give us an example of how that why question uncovered a surprising MOT?
Certainly. In one project, Professor Wang recounts, customers consistently described a high-end shopping mall as, high-end or luxurious. Pretty standard. But when the researchers probed, asking why, many surprisingly pointed not just to the designer boutiques in the main hall, but to the impeccably clean, thoughtfully designed, and really well-maintained restrooms.
The restrooms. Seriously?
Seriously, it was a counterintuitive insight. It showed that the restrooms, an often overlooked utility, were a real moment of truth, for their perception of luxury and attention to detail. It was subtle, but incredibly powerful.
That's fascinating. It really demonstrates how seemingly minor details can profoundly shape an overall brand perception. What's the other practical method for finding MOTs?
The second powerful method is through targeted interviews. This involves conducting structured focus group discussions, or FGDs, with those three types of people we just discussed: those who love you, those who don't, and those who used to.
Okay, talking directly to them.
Yes. Professor Wang suggests using specific 28 insight points across the 4 dimensions of customer decisions, which we'll explore in a moment, to systematically uncover potential MOTs. And the goal isn't just to find a few. You really aim to uncover at least 50 distinct MOTs.
50. Why so many?
Because that gives you a rich pool of options. You need enough choices so you can strategically select your most impactful peak experiences later on. You don't want to be limited.
Got it. And within these interviews, I hear there's a particular phrase that's like a strong signal.
Absolutely. You need to pay very close attention when a customer says, "My friend said."
My friend said. Why is that so significant?
When a customer relays something they heard from a friend, it's a potent indicator that the original experience, or maybe just the story about it, was impactful enough to be shared organically. It wasn't prompted. It signifies a referable, memorable MOT, something that resonated enough to escape the individual's mind and actually enter their social circle. That's powerful word of mouth.
That's a great tip. Okay, shifting gears slightly. Professor Wang also shines a light on a crucial yet often overlooked moment of truth, specifically in the B2B context, the company introduction.
Ah, yes, the intro.
This might seem like a basic, almost trivial administrative step, right? But for business-to-business interactions, Professor Wang argues it's an absolutely vital, ice-breaking MOT. It holds the power to transform potential, maybe vague interest, into concrete potential transactions.
He provides a really compelling example from HP, illustrating their passing 5 gates approach.
Passing 5 gates, what's that?
HP rigorously trained their new sales representatives to deliver consistent, compelling company introductions. This wasn't just about memorizing facts. It involved extensive practice, like even rehearsing responses to interruptions or specific challenging questions like, why should we choose HP over your competitors? Or what makes your solution truly different?
So it was about deep preparation and consistency.
Exactly. This intensive training ensured a unified, confident, and persuasive brand message was delivered every single time, right from the start.
And the cost of getting that wrong, of having an inconsistent or poorly delivered company introduction.
Oh, the cost is enormous. It leads to lost opportunities, obviously, but also more subtly, it prevents clients from correctly placing your company in their minds.
What do you mean by placing?
If your initial introduction is unclear or rambling or unconvincing, the potential client can't form a strong mental tag for your brand. They won't know where you fit in the competitive landscape or even if you're a viable solution to their problem. It's not just about what you say, but how consistently, confidently, and compellingly you say it from that very first interaction. It sets the stage.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, now let's talk about the 4 dimensions of customer decisions. You mentioned these earlier. These aren't just about the final purchase decision, are they?
No, not at all. Professor Wang identifies 4 critical decision points, which in turn define 4 crucial dimensions for uncovering MOTs. And collectively, these dimensions drive brand growth.
And it's crucial to remember, right, that a company's biggest problem might lie in any one of these dimensions.
Exactly. For instance, if your issue is that customers don't even know you exist, well, fixing the product itself isn't going to solve that core problem. You have to identify which dimension needs the most attention first.
So what's the first dimension?
The first dimension is entry rate. Here, the customer's role is what Professor Wang calls the passerby.
The passerby.
Yeah, someone with no clear purchase intent, just casually browsing, whether they're literally walking past a storefront or maybe just scrolling online.
And the challenge here is?
Capturing their fleeting attention. That's the whole game at this stage. In our hyper-stimulated modern world, attention spans are notoriously short. I mean, studies from years ago, like 2015, were already showing an average of just 8 seconds before people disengage.
8 seconds, wow.
It's incredibly fast. So the key question for this dimension is, what specifically triggered them to enter your store or click on your link? What broke through all that noise and actually captured their attention?
And the design focus.
The design focus here is on achieving seconds to understand. Your message needs to be incredibly simple, immediate, and really designed to leverage the five senses to trigger our intuitive, fast-thinking System 1 brain.
System 1. We'll get more into that later. But basically, the automatic brain.
Exactly. Think about the irresistible aroma wafting from a bakery, or maybe a surprisingly long queue outside a restaurant that subtly implies popularity and quality, or just a visually striking, well-lit window display that draws the eye. These are all subtle cues designed to make us pause and engage without conscious effort. Pure System 1 triggers.
So what insights should you be looking for here?
To uncover insights in this dimension, you need to ask, how did they first even hear about you? What did they see at your physical entrance or maybe online that compelled them to click or walk in? And crucially, what prevented other passersby from entering? This last question is key because it reveals the lows in your entry experience. Perhaps misleading decor, a chaotic or overwhelming website homepage, maybe even negative sensory cues like bad smells or noise.
Got it. Okay, moving on to the second dimension, conversion rate.
Right. At this stage, the customer's role has shifted. They're no longer a passerby. They're the inquirer.
The inquirer. So they're interested now.
Yes, they've already entered your space, be it physical or digital, and they're now open to receiving more information, comparing options, asking questions. They're past that initial curiosity. Now they're actively evaluating.
And the goal here?
The ultimate goal here, as Professor Wang puts it, is one entry, one purchase. It's about effectively turning that initial traffic, that interest, into concrete transactions.
So what's the design focus for conversion?
It's multifaceted. It emphasizes differentiation, clear visualization, and above all, building trust. Trust is really the primary objective at this stage.
Building trust. How do you do that?
You need to clearly and compellingly convey what's different about your offering. Often this is best done through clear, easily digestible visual information. And a major emphasis here is trial is key.
Trial, like samples.
Yes, but more than just samples. Professor Wan talks about Hella Razor, try on, taste, wear, listen. He highlights how traditional product samples often fall short because the moment is wrong. You take a sample home, maybe it gets forgotten, maybe you use it in a suboptimal context.
Right, it loses the momentum.
Exactly. The real impact comes from the in-store trial, maybe facilitated by a skilled salesperson who can guide the customer through a meaningful experience right then and there, answer questions, build that trust.
That makes so much sense. It's about eliminating doubt in the moment. And I imagine this also involves helping consumers overcome, like, choice paralysis.
Absolutely. Making decisions clear and simple. Perhaps with guiding directional messaging like, this model is best for X user, or this is our most popular option for people looking for Y.
And leveraging strong endorsements would be vital here too, wouldn't it? Things like awards, expert opinions, KOLs, key opinion leaders or influencers, and powerful peer success stories. Social proof.
Oh, hugely vital. These all build trust and significantly reduce perceived risk. It's about showing the inquirer, essentially, look, many people just like you have bought this and they're satisfied. It's a safe choice. It lowers the barrier.
So what insights are key for understanding conversion?
You need to ask, why did they ultimately buy? What comparisons did they make before deciding? What specific questions did they ask that helped them overcome hesitation? What visible messages or cues in the environment influence their choice?
Any examples here?
Yeah, a fascinating one Professor Wang uses relates to smartphone cameras in Taiwan. While Apple often emphasizes, realistic presentation, many Taiwanese consumers, surprisingly, preferred skin whitening and beauty filters in their photos. It was a common feature in Android phones popular in that market.
So a cultural preference.
A very specific one. Now, if a brand blindly emphasized realistic photos for that market without understanding this nuanced, culturally driven preference, it would struggle significantly with conversion. People wouldn't see what they value. It demonstrates that truly deep-seated preferences, even ones that might seem non-rational elsewhere, are absolutely critical for success at this conversion stage.
That's a great illustration. Okay, dimension 3, repurchase rate.
Right. At this point, the customer's role is the user. They've already made a purchase and are now actively experiencing your product or service in their own life.
And the goal here is loyalty, right?
Essentially, yes. One purchase, repeated purchases. It's about ensuring that customers feel it was worth it. This isn't just about basic satisfaction. It's about a deeper sense of value received for their money and time.
So the design focus for repurchase.
It's centered on delivering sustained value and genuinely solving the problem they bought it for in the first place. The product or service must consistently meet expectations and fulfill a core problem or, importantly, an emotional need.
Emotional need. Tell me more about that.
Well, if the experience is merely average, or worse, if low-value experiences occurred during use frustrations, disappointments, unmet expectations, then despite that initial purchase, they simply won't repurchase. Professor Wang emphasizes that customers often buy based on emotion. They're seeking happiness, alleviating anxiety, gaining recognition, or engaging in self-beautification.
So it's not always purely functional.
Rarely is, and products or services that genuinely make customers look good or give them face, meaning they feel unique, tasteful, or somehow elevated by using it, those naturally encourage organic sharing and lead to much higher repurchase rates because they align with these deeper emotional needs.
Okay, so what specific insights should you be trying to uncover for repurchase?
You need to understand, what emotional needs does your product or service truly satisfy? What specific moments during use made them feel, yes, this was worth it, creating that sense of profound value? And critically, what were the low-value experiences, the pain points that ultimately led to churn? Why did they switch to competitors?
Any examples of hitting the mark here?
Professor Wang gives an example of a functional apparel brand, AAGA. They discovered that their high-frequency buyers, some people buying over 80 pieces, believe it or not,
Wow.
they felt the brand was absolutely worth it. Why? Because of its distinct French century-old fashion function attributes and its high-tech fabrics, despite the premium price. It reinforced their self-perception, their beauty, their identity.
They connected with them emotionally.
Exactly. Conversely, think about something simple like handshaken tea. If a customer's first purchase leads to a terrible taste experience, well, the repurchase rate will, unsurprisingly, crash. It sounds obvious, but it highlights that the core product experience is absolutely paramount.
And that leads to a crucial caveat, Professor Wang adds, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely critical. Experience design, no matter how brilliant, doesn't fix a bad product. If the product or service is fundamentally flawed, it has to be improved first. Peak experience design builds on a baseline of acceptable, reliable quality. It doesn't replace it. You can't wrap a bad product in a great experience and expect long-term success.
Good point. Okay, finally, the fourth dimension, recommendation rate.
Right. The customer's role here evolves into the communicator. This is a satisfied user who is not only loyal, but actively willing to share their positive experience with their social network.
The advocate.
Precisely. The ultimate goal, as outlined in that flywheel concept, is one spread, 1,000 miles. It's about leveraging these loyal customers to attract new ones at a fraction of the cost of traditional advertising. This is where truly devoted advocates become your most powerful growth engine.
And the power of those who love you really comes into full play here, right? These VIPs are truly your best marketers.
Absolutely. Because they have a vested interest in your brand's success, psychologically, they won't want to badmouth something they've invested their time, money, and identity in.
So the design focus here.
It's on fostering that sense of face, creating genuine privilege, and making the experience inherently shareable. And I imagine standard membership cards often fall short in building true loyalty here, right?
They often do.
Generic membership programs tend to treat all customers pretty much the same, maybe offer a small discount. Instead, the focus should be on creating genuine privileges and a palpable sense of superiority among different tiers of loyal customers. These aren't just discounts, they're exclusive experiences or benefits that really differentiate them and make them feel special.
Make them feel valued.
And crucially, you need to proactively design experiences that naturally encourage sharing. For example, in the food and beverage industry, the plating and lighting of a dish can sometimes matter more than just the taste. Specifically for social media sharing, you have to think about the photo op.
Designing for the share.
Exactly. Implement old brings new mechanisms that specifically encourage existing customers to bring in new ones, making it easy and maybe even rewarding for them to spread the word.
So for insights in this dimension, you're asking, what makes them want to share? What moments make them feel that sense of face or privilege? How can you empower them to spread the word effectively? And are your VIPs truly feeling special, or are they just getting, emails with discounts?
Consider this powerful example. A luxury fashion brand hosted an exclusive sales-free fashion show.
Okay, feels free. Interesting.
Yeah. They invited their highest tier VIPs and, crucially, allowed them a +1. But here's the kicker. That +1 also had to be a fellow VIP from a certain tier.
Ah, reinforcing the exclusivity.
Totally. This gave both the host and the guest immense face and created a truly exclusive experience. Afterward, attendees received valuable gift certificates, which led to immediate spending and, importantly, the organic acquisition of new high-value customers through those connections. It wasn't about pushing sales at the event. It was about creating a moment of unparalleled privilege that drove future sales and advocacy.
That's clever.
Or think about airline loyalty programs with their different tiers offering increasing privileges, priority boarding, lounge access, upgrades, not just discounts. These are highly effective in maintaining loyalty, even when minor dissatisfactions inevitably arise.
Yeah, those perks matter.
And remember the Richard Mille watch story Professor Wang tells. An owner bought it not primarily for its technical specs, but because, quote, "My friends all wear this model," and Nadal endorses it. That highlights the immense power of social influence and aspirational connection.
It's about belonging.
And sometimes it's simpler. Even that unexpected, high-quality, beautifully packaged laundry service at a Tokyo hotel can create a memorable peak that a guest enthusiastically shares. These are all about amplifying influence through genuine value, perceived status, and shareable moments.
That's a fantastic segue into our next segment, which delves into the underlying psychology and practical application of designing for impact, what you called MOTX. Professor Wang's framework is deeply integrated with behavioral economics, particularly Daniel Kahneman's groundbreaking work on System 1 and System 2 thinking. Could you elaborate on these two systems and how they apply to experience design?
Certainly. Understanding these two systems is absolutely fundamental to designing truly effective peak experiences. System 1 is our fast, intuitive, emotional, automatic, and essentially effortless mode of thinking.
The autopilot.
Pretty much. The vast majority of our daily decisions, from recognizing faces to reacting to a loud noise, operate here. It's incredibly quick, it seeks mental shortcuts, and it constantly strives for coherence and consistency. It's our immediate gut reaction.
Okay, fast and intuitive. And System 2.
In contrast, System 2 is our slow, rational, logical, effortful, and conscious mode of thinking. It's activated for complex problems, deliberate calculations, or when System 1 is insufficient or provides a questionable answer. But here's the kicker.
What's the kicker?
System 2 is energy-intensive and slow. It requires real mental effort. Our brains prefer not to use it unless absolutely necessary.
The lazy brain theory.
Exactly. So the genius of peak experience design, then, is to influence decisions primarily through System 1. You want to make the experience so easy, intuitive, and emotionally resonant that the customer's brain defaults to fast, effortless thinking. You actively want to avoid designs that force System 2 thinking.
Why avoid System 2?
Because that raises their guard, it creates friction, it makes them pause and analyze, and that can easily lead to rejection or just disengagement. You want it to feel seamless.
That's a powerful insight. Designed for the lazy, intuitive brain. So how does this translate into actionable principles? Professor Wang distills 10 key laws of experience design, drawing from the combined insights of Kahneman and another Nobel laureate, Richard Thaler.
Yeah.
Let's really dive into these as they offer the true depth for applying these concepts.
Okay, let's run through them. The first is ego depletion.
Ego depletion. It sounds serious.
It just means our brains are inherently lazy. They prefer to conserve mental effort whenever possible. So, when designing an experience, you must simplify choices and make it incredibly easy for customers to take the desired action.
Less friction.
Precisely. Think of the paradox of choice. Too many options can overwhelm System 1, forcing System 2 to kick in, which depletes mental energy and often leads to decision paralysis or just abandonment. If your website has 5 pop-ups and requires 7 clicks just to see a product description,
You've lost them.
you're depleting their ego before they've even begun. The goal is to remove all unnecessary cognitive load, make it easy.
That's so true. I've definitely felt that online. Okay, what's the second law?
Second, the priming effect. This is fascinating. It shows how previous stimuli, even really subtle ones, can subconsciously influence subsequent thoughts and reactions.
Subconscious influence. How?
In experience design, you can use subtle cues-specific actions, props, ambient rituals, the environment itself, to induce desired associations and allow the consumer's brain to fill in the gaps, what Professor Wang calls brain, bu, meaning to complete or supplement.
Give me an example.
Okay, playing classical music in a wine store might subtly prime customers to feel more sophisticated and thus be willing to pay a bit more for a bottle, even if they're not consciously aware of the music's influence. It's about setting the stage for the desired mindset before the decision is even made.
That's clever. It's about creating a subconscious framework. And the third law.
Third, cognitive ease. This law tells us that familiarity breeds liking, and our brains inherently prefer things that feel easy to process and comfortable, things that just feel right.
Make it feel easy.
Yes. In a retail space, think about soft, consistent lighting, pleasant but non-intrusive background music, clear, intuitive signage. These aren't just aesthetic choices, they actively reduce cognitive tension, keeping the customer in that effortless System 1 thinking mode.
And cognitive tension is bad.
Yes. If a website has confusing navigation, uses jargon-filled language, or even if a product name is difficult to pronounce, it creates cognitive friction. That forces System 2 to kick in, and that can lead to customers disengaging because their brains are working too hard to understand something that should feel simple.
So essentially, if it feels hard to understand, it feels less appealing. Okay, what about the fourth law?
Fourth is prospect theory. This is a cornerstone of behavioral economics. It states that people are fundamentally loss-averse.
Loss-averse meaning?
We generally fear potential losses much more intensely than we value equivalent gains. Losing $10 feels worse than gaining $10 feels good.
Okay, I get that. How does it apply?
It has huge implications for framing your offer. If you're trying to get a customer to upgrade a service, instead of just saying, gain these 3 new premium features, you might frame it as, don't miss out on these critical functionalities your competitors are already using, and you'll also get these premium benefits. First, you alleviate the pain of potential loss. Then you highlight the pleasure of gain. It's a powerful psychological lever.
That's a really actionable insight for any kind of sales or marketing.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the fifth principle?
Fifth, the anchoring effect. The very first piece of information a person receives about something, the anchor, heavily influences all subsequent judgments and decisions about it.
The first impression matters most.
It sets the reference point. In experience design, you can strategically use high-status placements or associations to set a high anchor in the customer's mind. Think about a luxury brand deliberately opening its flagship store in the most prestigious shopping district, or securing a high-profile celebrity endorsement. The initial anchor of prestige or quality immediately elevates the perception of the brand and its products, making customers perceive higher value right from the outset.
So that initial impression isn't just an impression, it's the impression that sets all future expectations. Powerful stuff. The sixth law.
Sixth, the planning fallacy. This highlights our very human tendency to be overly optimistic about our future actions and capabilities. We consistently overestimate how much we'll achieve or use something in the future.
Guilty as charged. The gym membership example comes to mind.
That's the classic example. Buying it in January with grand intentions, only to rarely use it. Businesses can ethically leverage this by selling future use rights, or essentially dreams. Think of online courses or personal development programs. Often, what's being sold isn't just the content, but the aspirational future self the customer believes they will become by engaging with it. It taps into that optimistic self-perception.
That's fascinating and very relatable. Okay, what about the seventh law?
Seventh, the framing effect. This demonstrates, again, how information is presented significantly impacts decisions, even if the underlying facts are exactly the same.
Give me an example.
The classic one is ground beef labeled 85% lean consistently sells better than the exact same ground beef labeled 15% fat, even though they describe the identical product.
Wow, just the wording.
Just the framing. For experienced designers, it means carefully choosing the language, the visuals, the context that favors your desired perception. A product emphasizing natural ingredients might frame its benefits very differently than one emphasizing cutting-edge science, even if both are equally effective. It's about choosing the right lens.
Okay, and the eighth?
Eighth, confirmation bias. People naturally seek out and interpret information in a way that confirms their existing beliefs and preferences while actively downplaying or ignoring contradictory evidence.
The echo chamber effect.
Exactly. This is why online echo chambers are so prevalent, and it's also why your loyal VIP customers are so incredibly powerful. Once they've invested in and believe in your brand, they will actively seek information that justifies their purchases and passionately advocate for you. They're already biased in your favor, so you need to empower them, give them reasons to confirm their good choice.
That makes them incredibly resilient advocates. What's the ninth law?
Ninth, the endowment effect. This principle states that people tend to value something more highly once they feel they own it, simply because it is theirs.
Possession makes it more valuable.
Psychologically, yes. This is why encouraging trial periods or risk-free offers is so effective. Offering a 7-day free trial or a 30-day money-back guarantee leverages this effect. Once the customer has the product in their hands, once they've experienced that initial sense of ownership, giving it up starts to feel like a loss, making them significantly more likely to keep it.
Get it in their hands first.
Let them feel ownership. And finally, the 10th law.
Number 10.
10th, mental accounting. People tend to assign different values to money based on its source or the category they've mentally assigned it to.
Can you explain that?
Sure. For example, a tax refund might be spent much more freely, maybe on more discretionary items, than an equivalent amount of money received as part of a regular salary. We put money into different mental buckets. Understanding which mental account customers are drawing from for a purchase, is this fun money, necessity money, or investment money, can influence their decision-making and what they're ultimately willing to spend.
These 10 laws truly offer a deep dive into the human psyche and how our brains are wired. They feel like the absolute bedrock of what Professor Wang calls the brand wheel model, which is his proprietary strategic framework.
It really is. It's an integrated approach that weaves together marketing, positioning, those moments of truth we talked about, experience design, MOTX, and all these powerful insights from behavioral economics into one cohesive system.
Okay, so what are the components of this brand wheel?
The brand wheel has 4 interconnected components, all working in synergy. First, target audience, TA officier. And here, you don't just pick any audience, you identify your kita, nantobikiye, which literally translates to beachhead target audience, or BTA.
Beachhead, like the first point of attack.
Exactly. This is the initial, most receptive, and crucially most influential group you want to make madly in love with your brand first. They must possess the capability to multiply, to bring in new customers through organic word of mouth. They're your seed group.
So it's about finding the right first customers who can then become powerful advocates.
Got it.
And the second component.
Second is the brand message. This is the precise mental tag you want consumers to instantly associate with your brand. It's not just a slogan, it's the core essence that is consistently conveyed through every experience, especially the peak ones.
And how do you find that message?
It must be simple, consistent, and genuinely differentiate you from competitors. Ideally, this message emerges from the sweet spot where what consumers truly want, what you can do exceptionally well, and what competitors aren't already doing well all intersect. That overlap is your unique value proposition.
Want, can do, competitors don't.
Okay, and the third component.
The third component brings us back to what we've been discussing, the key moments, MOT. These are the specific decision points, entry, conversion, repurchase, and recommendation, where you will strategically concentrate your precious resources, knowing they have the most leverage, your chosen 10 out of 300.
And the fourth.
And finally, the fourth component is key experience, MOTX. This is the actual deliberate design of the experience at those carefully chosen key moments. This is where you bring in all that System 1 thinking, cater to deep emotional needs, leverage those 10 laws, and create those truly unforgettable golden moments.
Speaking of golden moments, can you expand on that concept? It sounds like the culmination of this design philosophy. Indeed. Golden moments just reinforces the idea that within any customer journey, no matter how long or short, there are specific, highly impactful points that disproportionately influence memory and decision-making. Professor Wang emphasizes these are typically the initial interaction, the moment of highest peak emotion, positive or negative, and the final moment of the experience. The beginning, the peak, the end.
Back to the peak end rule.
Exactly. Strategically designing these 3 types of moments to be exceptional yields the absolute highest return on investment for your efforts because, again, they are what the customer will remember and carry forward.
And to elevate these moments even further, Professor Wang introduces the concept of ritual sense. How does adding a sense of ritual transform an experience?
Adding a sense of ritual can profoundly deepen an experience. It creates strong, indelible imprints in a customer's mind. It involves infusing elements of aesthetics, maybe solemnity, symbolism, and a degree of formalization into an interaction that might otherwise be mundane or transactional.
So it makes it feel special.
Yes, special, intentional, and more meaningful. It elevates it.
The classic example that comes to mind is Marie Kondo's tidying method. Her ritual of kneeling and greeting the house before beginning to tidy, it transforms a potentially mundane, even stressful task into something deeply spiritual and self-reflective for her clients.
That's a perfect example. That ritual, rather than just the act of cleaning itself, is what makes clients feel profoundly satisfied, deeply loyal, and incredibly willing to pay a premium price. It takes a transactional service and elevates it into a transformative personal journey, precisely through that carefully designed sense of ritual.
Now let's bring these concepts to life with some real-world peak experiences in action. These case studies really show the diverse applications from airlines to gold shops.
Yeah, let's look at some. First, consider Chinese Airlines. Back around 2012, this major carrier was actually unprofitable and ranked quite low globally on customer satisfaction surveys like Skytrax. They had problems.
So their core problem was a lack of profitability and poor customer perception. What was the key insight they uncovered regarding their high-margin business class passengers? That seems like where you'd start.
It was, and the insight was quite counterintuitive. Business class passengers, despite being high margin, were frequently tired from back-to-back meetings. They often found the elaborate, multi-course in-flight meals burdensome, too much effort.
Interesting. So what was their peak MOT?
It wasn't primarily the taste of the food itself. Remember, taste buds are somewhat dulled at altitude anyway. Instead, it was the visual presentation of the meal service. They wanted something that felt luxurious and unique, something photo-worthy, something they could maybe share.
So the MOTX, the key experience design, wasn't about hiring a Michelin star chef, but about visual design and presentation.
Exactly. The company invested heavily in designing visually stunning tableware and meal presentation. Think elegant dishes, thoughtful garnishes, an overall aesthetic that literally encouraged passengers to pull out their phones, take photos, and share them on social media.
And the results?
The results were astounding. Net profit grew tenfold in just 2 years. They won numerous international design awards for their meal service, became a classic case study of brand upgrade, and even achieved high sustainability rankings. It proved that sometimes the wow factor, the peak, comes from an unexpected sensory detail, not necessarily the most obvious functional improvement.
That's a brilliant pivot. Okay, another fascinating case is Yuhinan Old Temple Gold, a traditional gold shop in Shanghai. What problem were they facing, particularly with their flagship store?
Well, their flagship store, despite being in a prime location, really lacked distinctiveness. It suffered from low foot traffic, low conversion rates once people were inside, and a weak recommendation rate. And critically, their core brand message, which was centered on good luck, wasn't actually felt or experienced by their customers in any tangible way. It was just a slogan hanging there.
Abstract good luck wasn't working. So how did they transform that into a concrete experiential peak experience?
The MOTX they implemented was incredibly creative and deeply rooted in Chinese culture. On the plaza outside the store, they installed gold bricks, actual golden-colored floor tiles.
Gold bricks on the ground.
Yeah. And these bricks were then blessed by a Taoist priest, and a prominent sign invited passersby to step on gold bricks for good luck.
That's brilliant. Instant interaction.
Exactly. It immediately became a major photo opportunity, drawing people in off the street. Then inside, they added an interactive lucky gold coin machine, kind of like a game. And they strategically placed these beautiful golden lucky bird sculptures that subtly guided customers to explore the upstairs sections of the store, increasing exploration.
And the results of making luck tangible.
The results were dramatic. They saw a significant increase in foot traffic, massive photo sharing on social media. Look, I stepped on the gold bricks,
What?
far more customers venturing upstairs, and most importantly, a palpable feeling of good luck among visitors. It truly connected their abstract brand message to a tangible, memorable, and highly shareable experience.
A truly powerful example of redefining markets through MOTs is the lamb milk powder story. You mentioned traditional marketing for baby formula would target the entire market, a huge segment dominated by cow milk powder. But one brand, Professor Wang refers to it as Brand B, took a radically different approach.
Exactly. Instead of competing head-on in that massive, crowded general market, Brand B strategically focused on a very specific niche: mothers whose babies were allergic to cow milk.
Okay, a very targeted segment.
Very targeted. And for these mothers, finding a solution to their baby's suffering, the rashes, the digestive issues, the constant discomfort, was a profound source of relief. This strategy transformed what was previously a recurring low-value experience, watching their baby suffer from allergies, into an incredibly powerful peak experience, seeing their baby healed and relieved thanks to this product.
That's a remarkable shift from a negative valley to a positive peak. So what were the key MOTs and MOTXs that enabled this transformation?
They identified several critical ones. Firstly, strategic point-of-sale placement in specialized mother-baby stores where these desperate mothers were already actively looking for solutions. But most crucially, the salesperson became a pivotal MOT.
The person behind the counter.
Yes. Promoters were rigorously trained with specific scripts. They were also provided with evidence, like actual photos of allergic babies before and after using the product. This enabled them to empathize deeply with the mother's plight and confidently recommend the product as a genuine, proven solution. They weren't just selling, they were offering hope based on evidence.
That builds immense trust. What else?
They also offered small, exquisitely designed trial-size cans. This did two things. It reduced the buying frictionless commitment, and importantly, the premium packaging signaled the product's high quality and efficacy. That's a classic System 1 decision driven by aesthetics signaling trustworthiness.
And the outcome of this highly targeted, empathetic strategy.
The results were phenomenal. They achieved incredibly high conversion rates in that niche. And these mothers, having genuinely experienced a significant, often life-changing improvement for their babies, became fervent super communicators.
They told everyone.
Everyone. This led to massive viral growth because their recommendations were rooted in authentic relief and deep personal experience. They weren't just recommending a product, they were sharing a solution that worked. This case perfectly demonstrates that by identifying and designing for the right MOT, you can fundamentally redefine your target audience and even your competition. For Brand B, the competition wasn't other lamb milk brands, it was cow milk for allergic babies. The MOT fundamentally defined their battlefield.
That's incredible. It shows the power of solving a real pain point. Finally, let's look quickly at SKT's freeze-age strategy. What was their initial approach, and how did they pivot?
Right. Originally, SK2, which is a high-end skincare brand, used quite mature celebrity endorsers to promote their products primarily for anti-aging. Their core message was all about reversing the visible signs of aging.
The traditional anti-aging message.
Yeah.
But they realized there was a broader opportunity, didn't they?
Yes. Their new MOT insight was realizing that a broader, younger audience, even women in their 20s, cared less about reversing aging and more about freezing their age right where it was. Preventing future aging was more compelling than correcting past damage for this group.
A different aspiration.
A profoundly different consumer motivation. So the MOTX involved a strategic shift to using younger celebrity endorsers, and they leveraged the powerful idea that by using SK2 anti-aging products early, you could effectively stop or freeze your visual age. This clever reframing redefined their target audience based on a different but equally powerful emotional moment of truth. It opened up a whole new, younger segment of the market simply by speaking to a different aspiration: preservation instead of reversal.
So we've covered the what and the why and seen some really powerful examples. Now the big question, how do you take all these insights and actually implement peak experience? How do you translate it from insight to tangible profit? It sounds like it starts with the critical art of prioritization, choosing the right MOTs to focus on.
Absolutely.
You can't say it enough, not all MOTs are created equal. Remember Professor Wang's 310, 290 principle. Don't try to improve everything. It's just a recipe for mediocrity and wasted resources.
Exactly. And to guide this crucial selection process, Professor Wang outlines 9 core principles for choosing your most impactful MOTs. This is where the strategic thinking truly comes into play, deciding where to place your bets.
Okay, let's hear them. 9 principles.
Okay. Firstly, prioritize 3 highs customers. Their opinions are by far the most important.
3 highs.
Customers with high purchase frequency, high single transaction value, and high usage frequency. Think about that long-haul business class flyer for an airline versus a short-haul economy passenger. The former's input, though they might be fewer in number, is significantly more valuable because they represent a critical, high-profit segment and they experience the brand much more deeply and often. Their peaks and lows matter more to the bottom line.
That's a critical distinction. Focus on the most valuable users. What's the second principle?
Second, concentrate on the current problem dimension. Focus the majority of your MOT design efforts on the specific dimension. Remember, entry, conversion, repurchase, or recommendation, where your company faces its most significant current challenge. If your main issue is getting people to even notice your brand, low entry rate, don't pour all your resources into improving the product's repurchase experience yet. You need to fix the initial bottleneck first. It's about diagnosing the most pressing issue and allocating resources there.
Makes sense. Don't fix a problem that isn't the most urgent one. And the third principle?
Third, favor golden moments. As we discussed, these are typically the initial, peak, and final moments of the customer journey. Prioritize MOTs that fall into these categories for maximum impact on memory.
Because they stick.
Because they stick. They are the moments most likely to be remembered and to shape the customer's overall perception, according to Kahneman's peak end rule. Investing in these ensures your efforts are concentrated where they'll have the most lasting effect.
So focus on what truly stays in the mind. What about the fourth principle?
Fourth, ensure message delivery. The chosen MOT, the experience you design, must be able to effectively convey your core brand message. It needs to successfully implant that desired mental tag in the customer's mind. If the experience, no matter how pleasant or wow, doesn't communicate what you fundamentally want your brand to stand for, it's not an effective MOT from a strategic perspective. Every peak experience should reinforce your brand's identity.
Okay, it has to carry the message. And the fifth principle, it sounds like it's about leveraging your unique strengths.
It is. Fifth, can your beauty be amplified? Select MOTs where your inherent strengths, your unique selling propositions, or what Professor Wang poetically calls your beauty, can be magnified and instantly recognized by customer.
Your beauty, what you do best.
Exactly. The core idea here is to focus your resources 1 centimeter wide, 10,000 meters deep. Don't try to be just okay at everything. Instead, be outstanding at a few things that truly matter and where your distinct advantages can really shine. This allows for deep specialization and unmistakable differentiation. Go deep, not broad.
That's powerful, concentrated excellence. Okay, what are principles 6, 7, and 8? You said they interact.
They do. They work together. Sixth is customer importance.
Yep.
This is the theoretical ideal, which MOT does the consumer value most in this category, regardless of your current capabilities. Seventh is your strength. This is the practical reality. Which MOT can you actually do best right now? Where are your internal capabilities strongest? And eighth is competitor weakness. Which relevant MOT do your competitors perform poorly on, creating a potential gap in the market?
Okay, customer importance, your strength, competitor weakness. How do they fit?
The ideal MOT to target is where these three intersect. But practically, Professor Wang suggests you often start with your strengths, Principle 7, then check for alignment with customer importance, Principle 6, and look to exploit competitor weaknesses, Principle 8. It's about finding that sweet spot where you can uniquely deliver what customers value and where competitors are currently falling short.
Got it. And finally, the ninth principle.
Ninth, business model fit. This is crucial. The chosen MOT must align seamlessly with and actively support your overall business model. For example, the optimal MOTs for a high-end, exclusive restaurant, think personalized service, exquisite ambiance, maybe tableside preparations, differ vastly from those of a high-volume, quick-service ramen shop, where efficiency, speed, and a focused, consistent taste are probably key MOTs. Your choice of MOTs fundamentally defines and reinforces your underlying business logic and operational priorities. They have to make sense for how you operate.
So it's not just about what feels good or creates a wow, but what makes strategic sense for your entire operation. Now, at the heart of successful peak experience design is what Professor Wang calls soul-body integration. Can you unpack that?
Yeah, it sounds a bit mystical, but it's actually very practical. It's about the seamless blending of strategic thinking, the soul, the grand vision, the why behind the experience, with practical, incredibly detailed execution, the body, the how, the specific actions, sights, sounds. It's not enough to have a brilliant idea for a peak experience. You must execute it flawlessly down to the minutest detail. The strategy and the execution have to be perfectly aligned.
Soul and body together.
We can revisit that Tokyo Hotel's laundry service example here. It wasn't just that the clothes were cleaned and returned. That's basic service, the minimum expectation. The soul was the strategic understanding that travelers, especially business travelers, value convenience and pristine presentation, maybe a touch of unexpected care. The body was the flawless execution. The unexpected, beautifully packaged delivery in a wooden box, perhaps tied with a ribbon, creating that peak wow moment.
The little details made the difference.
Exactly. This unexpected elegance transformed a mundane utility into a memorable, shareable peak experience. This is soul-body integration in action, and it's a perfect example of adding that ritual sense to an otherwise ordinary service. The guests didn't just get clean laundry. They got a delightful, unexpected, and shareable moment of care and luxury.
To help companies operationalize this entire framework, Professor Wang introduces a practical toolkit, the 18-grid form. Tell us about that.
Right. This is a structured form that acts as a guide. It leads users through a methodical thought process, all the way from identifying a specific business problem to designing the specific customer action they want to elicit through the peak experience.
So it forces structured thinking. What are some key elements?
Well, it includes things like clearly defining the problem you're trying to solve, for example, low entry rate among young professionals, identifying your specific beachhead target audience for this problem, articulating your core brand message relevant to this MOT, pinpointing the targeted MOTs you've chosen to focus on, detailing the actual experience design, the MOTX, down to specific sensory inputs, scripts, actions. And critically, specifying the desired customer action do you want them to enter, buy, repurchase, or recommend. It forces a disciplined approach from problem to desired outcome.
And crucially, Professor Wang emphasizes that successful implementation of all this requires strong leadership, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely essential. This means someone at the VP level or higher, often even the CEO, needs to be the director for the entire experience.
The director. Why is that so important?
This leader is responsible for building consensus across departments: marketing, operations, sales, product, which is often where these things fall apart. They need to allocate the necessary resources and ensure that the experience is executed precisely as designed, consistently. Without this high-level director championing it and coordinating it, the meticulously planned experience can easily fall flat due to internal silos, budget fights, or just lack of follow-through and alignment.
It needs a conductor.
Exactly, because a design, no matter how beautiful it looks on paper in that 18-grid form, is considered a failure if it doesn't actually lead to the desired customer action. If customers look but don't enter, or they enjoy the experience but don't share it or buy again, then it's what Professor Wang calls paper strategy, a great idea that ultimately failed in practice. The emphasis is always on measurable, practical impact on customer behavior.
What a journey. We've truly embarked on a deep dive into the fascinating world of peak experience. We started by understanding its core definition and how it really challenges traditional marketing, recognizing the immense power of those moments of truth.
Moving beyond the average.
Exactly. We then delved into how fundamental psychology and behavioral economics underpin compelling design, revealing how our brains actually process information and make decisions, often unconsciously. And you've seen through those examples how focusing strategically on just a few critical moments, understanding your customers profoundly, all three types, and executing with precision can utterly transform business outcomes, driving growth by influencing customers' innate decision-making processes.
It's really a shift in perspective. In a world that's just overflowing with information, endless choices, constant demands on our attention, true differentiation for a brand doesn't come from trying to do everything perfectly or, frankly, by just being good enough everywhere.
It feels impossible anyway.
It often is. Instead, differentiation comes from having the wisdom, maybe the courage, to choose what not to do, to simplify, and then making a select handful of moments utterly, truly unforgettable. The real battlefield for brands today isn't just in advertising spend or product features alone. It's increasingly fought and won in the customer's mind. And the most powerful weapon you can wield in that battle is a thoughtfully designed peak experience.
Now, as you reflect on this deep dive, take a moment to consider your own interactions, your own experiences as a consumer. What are those peak moments that genuinely stick with you? What specific details or feelings made them memorable?
Think about those times you felt truly seen or delighted.
Exactly. And then think about how you might apply this thinking to your own life or work, whether you're building a product, delivering a service, creating content, or maybe just interacting with colleagues or family. How can you turn everyday interactions into something truly memorable? Something that leaves a lasting positive mental tag in the minds of those you connect with. This isn't just about business strategy. Ultimately, it's about understanding the human heart and how we form impressions, make decisions, and ultimately connect with the world around us.